Well, guys, it's upon us. Season 2 of RU Sports Speaks. I'm Lorenzo Robinson.
I'm Moxon Glosson.
I'm Nevarie Solomon.
And welcome to the second season of RU Sports Speaks. So, last year we delved into a few different sports topics. We also delved into a few topics on life as well. We hope that this season is just as informative as the last season. So to start off season 2, we're going to talk a little bit of college football. So, Moxon, I got a question for you. Who is the most surprising team that you've watched this season?
Surprising? There are a good bit of teams that have been surprisingly good. I think there are an equal amount of teams that have been surprisingly disappointing. I would say, man, I've got a bunch of surprise players. Yeah, thanks, man. I really think Ole Miss has stepped up. I think Lane Kiffin everywhere he touches is just explosive offense. Of course, not a lot of defense, but when you're putting up 50 or 60 points a game, it tends to not matter. But
most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time, yes. Now, if we look at like Oklahoma in the playoffs, Oklahoma's been knocked out of the first round several times just because they don't have a defense. Mm-hmm. But I think Ole Miss has been a surprise for sure. Honestly, I think Oregon as well. And I know what you're going to say, Nevarie, so I don't want to steal yours because you've got a good one. But Oregon, I really like Mario Cristobal. I really do. I think he's a good coach. I think that Oregon is head and shoulders above the rest of the Pac-12, even though I just feel like lately they haven't been playing to their potential. If they're firing on all cylinders like they were against Ohio State in Week 2, Oregon for me is up there with the playoff teams. I don't know if it's a legitimate playoff team yet, but right now they look like a good team, and they've been a surprise to me for sure.
Yeah, we're going to get into if they're a playoff team or not. We're going to get into that later. Nevarie, what do you think? Who are your most surprising teams so far?
Most surprising. Like Moxon said, it's a lot of them. This year has been crazy for college football. Like he said, Cincinnati. Cincinnati was one that I didn't think would, even crack top 15. But I do give them credit, though, because I felt like Cincinnati always has had great DBs. I kind of consider them to be, I say, top 3 DBU schools. I would put them up there with, LSU. Who else?
Gotta throw Ohio State in there.
Ohio State, of course. Yeah, Ohio State. But yeah, I always liked Cincinnati's defense. I just didn't think they would, crack. What is it with 7-0? That's surprising. This is gonna come to a shocker to y'all. Georgia being this good, I didn't expect them to be this great, especially with
surprising?
With their front seven. That has to probably be one of the best front sevens I've seen in a while.
So you just didn't see it coming.
I didn't, and I might hurt a lot of people's feelings with this one, but I'm hoping they lose very soon, so my Roll Tide can get back on top. But yeah, Georgia's a surprising team. Michigan has been a surprising team as well. They're also undefeated. I think 7 or 8-0, I believe. But yeah, Michigan has been a surprising team as well. So like I said, it's a lot of teams this year that I didn't think would be top 10 that are doing some things right now.
Yes, it's kind of a crazy year.
I want to talk about Cincinnati too a little bit because I think I've watched all but like 2 of Cincinnati's games, and on Saturday I'm up at 8 and go to bed at midnight watching football. And Cincinnati is legitimately, in my eyes, a playoff team if they're playing their best football.
Absolutely.
As Chicago said, their defense is really, really good. They've got those 2 cornerbacks that I cannot remember either of their names right off the top of my head, but they're just locked down. They're both probably first-round NFL picks.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
If not like top 20. But Cincinnati definitely, there's been a couple games where they were slow to get going, but largely they've just looked unbeatable so far. And Chicago, I am a huge Bulldogs fan, so I'm sorry. But I'm still surprised that we are. I was thinking we were going to have a loss at this point in the season to someone. I've predicted UGA like 10-2, 11-1 since we've had Kirby after that first 2016 year where we went 8-5. I think I wouldn't say I'm shocked, but I am a little bit pleasantly surprised at where we are right now.
Yeah.
And with Michigan, Harbaugh has tricked me so many times. He's tricked me so many times to think Michigan's ready, and
man's a used car salesman.
Yeah. I don't trust Harbaugh to win the big game. Usually, he reminds me a lot of Brian Kelly. I can't trust Notre Dame's coach to win a big game either. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. We'll see whoever wins this game, Michigan State will be. I know I'm stealing your thunder. Sorry.
You good. Yeah. That just the stuff that you were speaking about just kind of speaks to the kind of unpredictability of this season. Yeah. Like if you were to tell me that in the first half of the season we will see Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State lose, and in Clemson's case, multiple losses. I definitely wouldn't have seen that. I wouldn't have seen Alabama losing it on the road at Texas A&M, even though it's a road game. Alabama usually takes out teams like that, especially in the SEC. But in terms of the most surprising team, for me, it's only one team that I could go to, and it's Wake Forest.
All right. I like that. That's an interesting pick.
I don't know, if you guys paid attention much to Wake Forest. I know I haven't as far as, the last few years. But, in pretty much all sports, Wake Forest really isn't that good. They're usually towards the bottom of the ACC, basketball, football. But something happened a few years ago. They hired a new coach. They hired Dave Clawson. They went 3-9 and 3-9 in back-to-back seasons.
Yes.
And then they won 7 games. And then they won 8 games. And they went to a few bowl games. The culture started to shift. And now they're 7-0. They're undefeated. Yeah. And, undefeated this late in the season, you could be talking about potentially, making the playoff, making a New Year's Six bowl. Yeah. And for Wake Forest, that's major. Definitely wouldn't have seen that coming from that team. So that would definitely be the team that I would say is surprising.
It's a good pick. I like that.
Now, on the flip side of that, kind of going to segue into the most disappointing team. And I'm going to go ahead and kick this off because I just spoke about them. And it hurts my heart, because I have a lot of respect for Dabo Swinney. I have a lot of respect for that program. But man, Clemson, man, can you believe that?
Listen, when the game, what was it? It was week 1 where they played Georgia.
Yeah, we played them week 1. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I made a bet on that game. I thought Clemson was gonna do it, and I lost my money that night. I was so mad, but not just that game, but this whole season. Their quarterback, DJ, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Uwe Ungalale.
Yeah, Uwe Ungalale. Yeah, that. I feel like he's not really performing how everyone thought he was this year. Because with him being the backup last year to Trevor Lawrence in those games, what was it? Notre Dame, where Trevor Lawrence had to
Boston College.
Yeah, he had a real good game. Whenever Trevor Lawrence was down, he came in, he stepped up, and so everyone thought, okay, next year when he takes over, he's going to be that guy.
Heisman favorite for some people.
Yeah. And this year it's just
mine.
Yeah. This year it's been opposite. I don't know what's going on. Dabo, he has to figure that out. It's been really bad for Clemson right now.
I have to absolutely agree. This may hurt y'all's feelings. I don't know if he's come to try to recruit you guys. I'm not a huge Dabo Swinney fan for 2 reasons. I think he can be very arrogant, and there's a lot of college football coaches I don't like. But I don't like that he is being so stubborn with the transfer portal this year, to the point where no disrespect to his kids or anything, but the running joke is, oh, Dabo Swinney's playing his 2 kids on his team, but he has that mantra of we've got enough talent at this university, like with our recruiting. And you look at teams like Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama have these big time, like Alabama's leading tackler, Henry To'o transferred from Tennessee this year. And their leading receiver, I can't remember his name, is it?
Jameson Williams.
Yeah, Williams. I'm pretty sure he was it him or
Ohio
Mechie?
State.
Yeah.
Ohio State.
And they're so leading receiver in receiving yards and leading tackler up to this point in the year, both transfers.
Right.
Of course, Alabama, I think, is one of the best teams in the country, even with that loss to Texas A&M.
Absolutely.
So it just I think that has been a big part of this season, and also obviously Uiagalelei has not performed well at all.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with his I don't know, when the pocket collapses, he collapses
antsy.
with it.
Yeah, he gets very frantic and antsy. I noticed that.
Yeah, when he has time, he can hit throws, but like any defense anywhere near Georgia's is going to, as we saw in week 1, Georgia's defense sacked him 7 times. And a lot of that was him not throwing the ball away. Of course, Clemson's offensive line needs some work. But largely it's been Uiagalelei that's just been, I'm just going to call him DJ.
Yeah.
So many syllables. It's largely just been DJ. He hasn't made much improvement. I think he's regressed, as Chicago said, from those last 2 games last year where he threw for like crazy numbers.
Yeah.
But Clemson's been very disappointing to me. I'm not a huge fan of Clemson just because I know so many of their fans, and they always make fun of the SEC. So I've never liked Clemson, but I don't hate them. I don't hate them like I do Florida. But
we got some hate on Florida.
We're gonna get into that one too.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But yeah, so definitely disappointing for Clemson. 4-3 is just not good for them.
This is another one that's kind of near and dear to my heart because, I have a cousin that went to this school. I have family in this area, the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Gotcha.
Man, they were ranked top 10 coming into the season. My bold prediction coming into the season was that they were gonna win the ACC and make the playoff. That was my bold prediction.
I don't not like that at all. I like that bold prediction.
And then week 1 at Virginia Tech, boys got beat. And Virginia Tech's a tough place to play, so I kind of excused it. But then they came to Atlanta and lost to Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
and man,
that was a tough.
That's tough.
Yeah, That's tough. Georgia Tech with a loss to Northern Illinois week 1, and I hate using the transitive property like, this team beat this team, beat this team.
But you can't help but look at it. I mean, that was crazy. Yeah, this very disappointing. It brought a tear to my eye, man. That's crazy. So just moving right along, kind of going with the unpredictability of the season. You spoke a little bit about DJ Uiagalelei being a top Heisman candidate early in the season, especially with the way that he played against a pretty decent Boston College team.
Oh, yes.
And then a really good Notre Dame team.
Yes.
And the way that he's performed this season just hasn't been up to those standards. So now going into who we have in the Heisman Trophy race today. Obviously, Spencer Rattler was up there too, and he hasn't showed up at all.
Started on that situation.
Yeah, he's in the transfer portal now, right?
That's
if
what
he
the
isn't
talk
there
is.
now.
Yeah.
If he isn't there now, he's on his way.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, who do you guys have so far winning the Heisman Trophy?
Nevarie, you want to go, or because I feel like I've been blabbing on?
Me, I would say I got a couple guys. Number 1 has to be Matt Corral, though. I think Matt Corral I'm not gonna say I didn't predict, their offense to do the things that they're doing now, but it seems like Matt Corral with that RPO that they run. I really feel like he's mastered it to where defenses really can't guard that RPO, and the things he's doing this season is incredible, especially like y'all were saying with Ole Miss being unpredictable, top 10, and so I feel like that offense is really clicking. I would say 2. I would have to go. I gotta go with my boy. I gotta go.
Bryce.
I gotta go Bryce. I gotta go Bryce.
Alabama fan.
Now,
I'll
that's okay.
allow it.
now the thing I will give him some backlash. I don't really know how he is in big time moments. With that what was it that Florida game where it came down to, I think it was that last drive. He kind of sold us on that last drive. But I feel like when he's in the pocket, he's comfortable. I feel like he make really good throws like DJ. I want to see him. I want to see him play Georgia. I want to see him play Georgia because when that front seven is coming, and he has to hurry up, make quick decisions. That's gonna be a good one to see. But yeah, I definitely got to throw my guy Bryce in there. And I will probably for my last one go. I'll go CJ Stroud. Yeah, I like him. He's doing good things, but yeah, I think those are my top 3 for sure. For Heisman.
My top 3 is close to that. I mean, this year I think has been as chaotic a year in recent memory, probably since that 2007 season with LSU winning the national championship. That season was crazy. Of course, that was when I was really young. It was before I started following
I don't really
football,
remember too much from that year.
Yeah, but 2007 was crazy, and this year people are making comparisons to that 2007 year. And the Heisman race was, I don't think, much different. But this year, the race is just more wide open than I think I've ever seen. Like, a few years ago, it was like Trevor Lawrence, lock. A few years before that, it was Tua, lock. Or did Tua win?
I believe Kyler won.
Kyler, yeah.
Kyler, yeah.
But it was those two kind of battling the whole
exactly.
season.
It was Kyler, it was Trevor, and there wasn't really anyone up there. I think an argument can be made for a lot of people, and I miss. I feel like quarterbacks get the benefit of it, not really benefit of the doubt, but they get a bunch of attention with Heisman stuff, and I don't think running backs get enough attention. What's his name? Bijan Robinson on Texas is a really good running back.
Really
and
good.
Kenny Walker on Michigan State?
Kenny Walker, yep.
He's a great player too. I like to give running backs credit as well. I don't think we have really like a receiver like we had that Alabama receiver that won.
Devontae Smith. I think that's kind of unprecedented. I don't think we'll see that.
No,
for a long time.
It's pretty rare for a receiver. It's usually running back or quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And this may be a little biased, but Reese Davis said it too on game day. Jordan Davis is an absolute animal. I think defensive players never get enough credit, and
that's true.
Especially when it comes to Heisman race, like they're not even talked about. I'm not suggesting he's going to. Not suggesting he's going. He's not gonna. But I feel like he just deserves to be in the conversation just because of how dominant he is physically on the field. But I knew I'd get that reaction from y'all. But another for, and I don't want to completely ignore quarterbacks. Bryce Young is really good. He's a really good quarterback. In that loss against Texas A&M, he was the best player for Alabama, in my opinion. He was the best player. I mean, he still put up 38 points. Now, that Alabama defense is just really the secondary that broke down late in that game. But he still played his butt off in that game. And I also think, of course, the best quarterback in college football is Matt Corral right now.
Yeah.
Right now, today, he's the best. The conversation was different once they had that big loss to Bama. It was like 35-0 at one point that game, and he wasn't doing much, right?
Yeah.
But I think when he's at his best, I mean, he can name some other quarterbacks right now that can run for 100 yards and throw for however long he's throwing for each game,
It's
like
not
many.
It's
not a lot.
Ever. It's not a lot that can never do what he's been doing.
Yeah. And two others I think that deserve to be in the conversation. Kenny Pickett for Pitt. He looked good last week against a solid Clemson defense. Clemson's defense is still solid. And then Desmond Ridder for Cincinnati. A lot of experience. It was cool to see on game day that he has like a daughter, but he plays the game real. He looks like an NFL guy playing the game. Like mentally he does.
Yeah.
So I think those two deserve to get in the conversation as well. But it's still wide open. I'm looking towards Matt Corral probably if he keeps playing like he is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, especially if Ole Miss wins out, and that'll be interesting if Ole Miss wins out. So yeah, that's my list.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit on all the guys that I was thinking of. I really like Pickett from Pittsburgh. I really like him. I think that he's been kind of underrated this year. Pitt could very easily have been one of my most surprising teams, a team that's been pretty good. They're ranked in the top 25. They have a coach, Pat Narduzzi, who used to be the defensive coordinator at Michigan State. I've always thought that he was a pretty good coach, but for some reason it was kind of like a disconnect between him and the athletic department and the players just kind of all getting on the same page. So it's good to see them kind of rising up and being a good team. You said Kenny Walker from Michigan State. He's an animal. Like, in terms of the best running backs I've seen this season, he would definitely be that guy.
Yeah.
And then one more that might surprise you, but it's an unpredictable season. Caleb Williams, Oklahoma.
Okay.
I know that, he only started, how many games did he start? 3?
He's played 10 quarters of football.
Yeah.
So.
I know it's, kind of jumping out the window, but he picked up that baton for Oklahoma, and their offense has looked a lot better with him at the helm than it did with Spencer Rattler. But yeah, anything could happen down the stretch. This season has been crazy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you think later down the line, you think he'll still perform, how he's performing right now?
In the Big 12, probably. I don't think anyone can seriously challenge them in the Big 12. But going on kind of with that thought of the unpredictability, the playoff. We talk about unpredictable.
Yeah.
Now, the one constant for me is, I'm not a Georgia fan, but I have pretty much accepted the fact that I believe that Georgia's the best team in the country right now.
Yes.
They've played a few ranked teams in a row. This was supposed to be their gauntlet stretch, and they have pretty much dominated everyone that they've played.
Mm-hmm.
So Georgia, for me, is right now the best team in college football. Now, the unpredictability goes, we go 2, 3, 4. And from there, in terms of what I would do for the playoff field, how I see it shaking out, I think Cincinnati's going to finish undefeated. I think they're going to be the second-ranked team. I think Cincinnati's really good.
Yeah.
That American Conference is pretty underrated. When we look at the American, they got Houston, they got UCF. They have Memphis. They have a couple really good programs, and we compare them to a conference like the Pac-12. You could say those American teams stand toe to toe with them. So I got Cincinnati going at 2, 3. Right now in the poll, Alabama is 3rd, but I think Georgia's gonna beat them in the SEC championship. Well, I don't even think Alabama's gonna go to the SEC championship.
Ooh,
but,
now that's interesting. I think
they're losing to Auburn.
Oh
last game
man,
of the
in the
season.
Iron Bowl.
Yeah, I do think that's gonna happen. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Hey,
sorry.
they've lost 3 of their last 5 in Jordan Hare.
Yeah, it's a tough place to play.
I don't mind that prediction.
I know.
Not
Georgia
that I
made it look a little easy. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
it's not an easy
Georgia.
place to win.
Yeah, but it's
So,
Alabama too.
yeah.
I don't know.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
crazy.
So my third team, I am gonna go with Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma has kind of figured out what they want to do offensively. I think Caleb Williams is more of the quarterback that Lincoln Riley has been used to recently. He had a lot of great success with Baker Mayfield in terms of having kind of more of a pocket passing quarterback, but his recent 2 quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, guys who you can run the RPO game with, they could beat you with their arm, they could beat you with their legs. I think that's the mold that Caleb Williams kind of fits. So I think Oklahoma's kind of figured out what they want to do. Obviously, defensively, they need some work if they're going to win in the playoff, but I do think they'll get there. I think they'll be the 3rd team. And then the 4th team. The 4th team, I have the Oregon Ducks.
All right.
I have the Oregon Ducks. I think Oregon when they're, like you said, when Oregon is playing to their potential, they are one of the maybe top 2 or 3 best teams in the country. You can make the case. Oregon is really good. Cristobal's done a really good job with them. They have a lot of talent. They recruited well.
Yes, they do.
They play really well this year when they're clicking. Now, when they aren't clicking, we've seen them stumble a little bit. I forget who they lost to, but Stanford. Like, they always have a game every year where they kind of lose to a team that they're not supposed to lose to. So, Oregon, if they could stay focused and stay on the path, I think they'll get in the playoff. For me, it was between them and Ohio State, and the difference for those 2 teams for me is the head-to-head. Oregon going into Ohio State, going into the shoe, and beating them. I know right now in the polls, Oregon is at 7, Ohio State is at 5. But I think when the college football playoff poll comes out, I think that the playoff committee will kind of stay true to their methodology of making head-to-head matter. So I think it's going to come down to that, and I will take the Oregon Ducks as my 4th team. So I have Alabama, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, and Oregon as my playoff field. What say you guys? What are you guys thinking?
I'll let you go ahead, Moxon. I'm
all right.
Still shocked, and I'm still trying to figure out why.
Yeah,
you did that to me.
This is gonna be really.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
This is still the. Hey, I had Auburn too. Don't worry. I had
Man.
This is probably the most, just like the Heisman race, the most wide open CFP race that I can think of since it was inducted in 2014.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I'm so thankful for. I hated the BCS, but I think we'll start with number 1, which, in my opinion, it comes down to one decision. If Georgia decides to play Stetson Bennett in the SEC championship, Georgia will not beat Alabama.
Really?
Stetson Bennett is just not. He's not JT Daniels, and I don't think he can win against Alabama. I just don't think he has the skill set. I have nothing against the guy. He's a walk-on. If we start JT Daniels, I think we should. I think we'll win a close game against Alabama in the SEC championship if we can start JT Daniels. So for right now, since JT's looking healthy after that lat injury, it looks like he's probably going to start or at least play against Florida. If he plays, which I think he will, I'm going to put Georgia at 1 for now.
Okay.
I think probably 6 times out of 10, I'll say Georgia is number 1 this season, playoff wise. So, which that's big. I mean, going 12-0 and then winning your conference championship. Doesn't matter what conference you're in. People giving a lot of hate to the ACC. Like, if Wake Forest goes undefeated in their conference, that's amazing because that's 12 games.
That's hard to do.
It's so hard.
That's a lot of
doesn't
football.
Doesn't matter how bad your competition is. Doesn't matter about your strength of schedule. Going 12-0 is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Georgia at 1 for now. But, of course, they've broken my hearts about a dozen times. Number 2, I've had Cincinnati in my number 2 for a while. They had that struggle victory over Navy, who's now still a 1-loss team, who's now 1-6, I think. Every team gets to have their down week, and Cincinnati still pulled out the win. So I'm not really as concerned. My concern is everything around them, right? Including the fact that no Group of 5 teams ever gotten in, and the Group of 5 is just generally disrespected just because of the level of competition, as the committee says. For number 2, I think it will be Ohio State. I think it'll be Ohio State. I think Ohio State will win out. I think they'll win the Big Ten championship, especially if Oregon stays up near 5-6-ish. Actually, and I think Oregon's going to get in, but I'll get to that in a second. If Oregon stays where they're at right now and doesn't have another loss, the committee is more than willing to forgive Ohio State for that loss all the way back in week 2 against an Oregon team that played their absolute best game of the season. Ohio State is absolutely destroying, admittedly inferior opponents, but they're just absolutely wiping the floor with them.
You got to take care of business against those teams.
Exactly. What the best thing you can do against those teams, blow them out, right? And that's what Ohio State's doing.
Style points.
Exactly. I think they'll easily beat Penn State this weekend. I think they'll cover the spread. I think they will just come out and beat them bad. And I mean, it's an absolute gauntlet for the Big Ten East, I think, because it's Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State, all of whom are ranked, and all of whom I think are not bad teams. Even Penn State with that loss to Illinois. Penn State still has good players. I think Ohio State 2. 3, I've got Oregon getting in. I think that Oregon will get the nod just because, they have that win over Ohio State. Conversely, they have that huge win over who I think is going to be number 2. I think they'll win the Pac-12, conference champion, 12-1. It should be a pretty easy pick for 3. And then 4, I've got Cincinnati. I think they'll get the nod over an Oklahoma team that I think will take at least one loss this season from here on out. I don't know to who, but I think Oklahoma, I just have a feeling, will take a loss this season. And I think they'll get the nod over Oklahoma. Now, if Oklahoma wins the Big 12, that'll be interesting, 4 or 5. But it'll either be Cincinnati or Oklahoma, 4 or 5. But those are my predictions. Then for New Year's 6, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. Go ahead, Lorenzo, or Nevarie.
Yeah, well, what say you, Mr. Solomon?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give my my top 4. I agree with Lorenzo. I gotta give those Georgia boys their credit. They're the number 1 team in the country right now. And it hurts my heart to say that, but they're playing just really good football. Like I said, their front 7 is like they're putting pressure on every quarterback that they've played so far. They're making it very hard to run the ball. It's like those defensive guys like take gaining a yard personal. So it's like that front 7 is just ridiculous. So I'm gonna go Georgia number 1. Number 2, obviously, gotta go Roll Tide.
How do you figure that? How do you see that shaking out?
So how's that going to work? Yeah.
How do you see that shaking out? Because they got the 1 loss.
1 loss.
No 2-loss non-conference champ has ever gotten in. We've seen a 1-loss non-conference champ get in, but not a 2-loss non-conference champ. So
gotta have faith in my boys. Listen, I got the utmost, faith in my guys, but I don't know. I really don't believe in Oklahoma and their new quarterback right now.
Me neither.
I can definitely.
That hurt me.
I can see them losing 1 or 2 games, like you said. I haven't seen much of this new quarterback. I mean, I've seen him in. He is pretty good. He stepped up, but I don't know if he can do it in big time, situations and in the playoffs. It's just I can't see that happening. So I feel like Oklahoma will fall. Cincinnati, for me, I don't think defense will be a problem. I see their offense being the problem. Yes, their quarterback, he's pretty good. I don't know if I have too much faith in him though. I know, yes, he's Heisman contender. I don't see him getting the job done in those late game situations. So I feel like they'll fall. Bama's two. I can't give them over. I can't put them over Georgia right now.
I'll give it to you.
But yeah, we're gonna put them at 2. 3. I gotta go. I'll go Ohio. Ohio for 3.
Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State for 3. And then my 4th one, I'm gonna go Michigan.
Oh, okay.
All right. You got 2 SEC and 2 Big Ten.
That would be crazy. That's absolutely
possible. That Big Ten conference is really good. I could definitely see the committee rewarding because someone has to lose in Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see the loser possibly getting rewarded depending on how it shakes out.
Now I just have a question for Chicago.
Yep.
How do you figure, like Lorenzo was saying, how do you figure Bama gets in at 2? Because I could see them, if they beat Georgia, I could see them being in at 1 and then Georgia getting in at 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just like because it's either they win and they go to number 1 and Georgia drops to 4, or they lose and they go 10-2.
Yeah.
You know
Well, I mean, I don't really know who has who's the rest of the season for Bama. I know
they have Auburn in the last week of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In terms of other teams,
They still got to play Arkansas.
Yeah, that Arkansas game won't be easy, but obviously the game that'll probably be circled for them is that Auburn game.
No doubt.
Yeah. Ooh, I mean, I don't know. You actually gave me, some thought.
I'm gonna help you out. Bama could get in, possibly, like Moxon said, probably at 1 if they beat Georgia. I think it will just be flip-flopping Alabama and Georgia though, because Georgia's been so dominant.
You think Georgia would just drop to 2?
Georgia would definitely just drop to 2. Alabama will probably be 1.
Yeah.
And then I think it will probably just shake out like that. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. I don't think Alabama's that good. But, no offense, man. I know that's your team. I'm not going to say too much. That's your team.
That's a stretch, Not that good.
Just by eye test, Bama's elite. Still, to me, it's a Nick Saban coach team. They have the best recruits in the country, along with Georgia. I mean, I wouldn't be completely shocked if they put Bama in 10-2. I'm not kidding. Because they've given Bama that leg up, not even being in the SEC championship in 2017.
Yeah,
they let Bama get in at 4. Bama destroyed Clemson, and then beat Georgia to win the title in 2017.
Yeah.
So they've done it. They've done something similar before, but the point still stands that there's never been a 2-loss non-title winner ever in, and I don't think there's ever been a 2-loss team in anyway, right?
No, the closest to that was that same season, Auburn 10-2 going to the SEC championship, but they were the second-ranked team in the country because of those back-to-back wins against Georgia and Bama. They were able to rise up. They had a few opportunities to get some really good wins under their belt. I don't think Bama has those same opportunities, though. I don't think they'll have the chances to get those wins in the event that they're a 2-loss team. So I think it would be hard for them to make the case. And the eye test, Alabama really looks good, but I don't know. It just seems like something's just missing, just a little bit.
I don't disagree.
I can't put my finger on it, but when you see those Nick Saban coach teams, it's like Teflon. They're untouchable sometimes, and they just feel kind of vulnerable this year. They just feel a little bit vulnerable this year. So kind of winding down, going into the week that we have this week for college football. We're going to do some predictions for a few of the biggest games of the week.
All right.
And I'm going to start with your favorite team, Mr. UGA fan.
All right.
We're going to go number 1 UGA versus Florida. I'm taking UGA in this one. I think that defense is too talented. Front seven is too talented. I think that Florida, whichever quarterback they put out there between Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson, I don't think that their quarterbacks will be able to control the game on the ground, which is what they like to do. And I think if you force them to throw, put them in some difficult situations, I don't think that they'll really succeed. So I got UGA winning in this one. I can kind of guess who you got in this one.
Yeah, I've got Georgia winning. The question is by how much, right?
Yeah.
Florida's probably my most hated team, along with Auburn and Tennessee. I just can't stand them. And their fans are arrogant and, Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But Dan Mullen is not an elite head coach, I don't think.
I agree.
I think he's an absolute clown personally. But I think
let that hate fly, man.
Dan Mullen is a clown. Dan Mullen is a clown, dude. He just lost his 2 top commits because he lost to Ed Orgeron, who's trying not to let the door hit him on the way out himself. I think now that Orgeron's leaving, everyone's saying, "Oh, now Mullen's on the hot seat." Now, I think that's a little too far because Mullen, he won the East last year and he beat us. But I think Georgia will win in somewhere between the 17 to 21 range. I think we'll win pretty handily. I think we'll put it away around halftime. I don't think now. If they start Anthony Richardson, they might put more points up. But if they start Emory Jones, it's not even going to be close. I think Emory Jones just can't really throw that well. I think AR-15, as they call him, is a little bit better. They're both pretty interception-prone guys, but I think AR-15 is definitely the better pick for Florida. But Dan Mullen's supposed to be the quarterback guru, and he hasn't made the correct choice like the last 3 seasons, deciding to start Felipe Franks over Kyle Trask. And, 0 out of 32 NFL teams think that Felipe Franks is better than Kyle Trask. So we'll just stick with dogs on top, 17 to 21. And if Emory starts, maybe even a little bit more than that.
Okay.
I actually like that. I actually like 17 to 21. I like UGA over Florida. Like we all been saying, that front seven is just ridiculous. I don't know with Emory being in. Yes, he's better with his legs.
Agreed.
But I just feel like that pocket is just gonna collapse way too fast. And like you said, they're both of their quarterbacks are very interception prone. So I feel like he'll get very antsy. He'll make bad decisions. And also you gotta think. Georgia has Kelleringo, who is leading. He's leading, I think, all of college football in what quarterback rating. Something.
Defensively.
Yeah, defensive.
The defensive version of QBR.
QBR. And now I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too much of a fan of Kelleringo, but I do feel like he has his moments. He's a very fast corner.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that, like I said, that quarterbacks will get very antsy, and I feel like they're gonna throw a couple. So I agree with 17 to 21 UGA.
Okay, so the next game, giving the Group of 5 a little bit of love. You know what I'm saying? I know I spoke a little bit about the American Conference. The American Conference has a pretty big game coming up this week.
I didn't know we were doing a Group of 5 game. I guess it
yeah.
didn't work. Sorry.
I just kind of threw this one in here.
Yeah.
Number 19 SMU undefeated at Houston, who's 6-1. Houston has kind of found their groove a little bit. They had Tom Herman a few years ago, and they were a team kind of like Cincinnati is now, where people were kind of talking, could they make the playoff? They were coming off that winning that New Year's Six bowl game against Florida State, and then they beat Oklahoma first game of the year that next season. So they were kind of in a situation like that. Many people thought that they were going to be a playoff team. Obviously, it didn't shake out that way. SMU is really good offensively. Their quarterback has had a really good season. They put a few different guys in the NFL on the offensive side of the ball. They've been really good. Coming from where their program was, talking about the Pony Express and how good they used to be, and going through the death penalty, to see them kind of rise back up it's pretty good. When SMU is good, college football is good. Unfortunately, though, I have them going down at Houston.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that Houston is a really good team. Like I said, it's hard to win the American, man. That's a tough conference. You got a few good teams. You got some really good coaches. I believe Dana Holgerson is their coach from West Virginia.
That's correct.
So I just see Houston winning that game at home against SMU, kind of thwarting SMU's hope of being undefeated going into the Cincinnati week. So I got Houston beating SMU.
Yeah, I also I like Houston over SMU. I feel like Houston has a really good offense. I'm not. Is their quarterback still? Is it still King?
No, Derek King actually
Derek
transferred
King.
to Miami.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
he's
that's
playing at Miami now. Yeah.
I still really like their offense. They got two I think good slot receivers. I can't remember one of their names. But I feel like they have two really good slot receivers. And it's gonna be at Houston. So I feel like that's gonna make it, that's gonna give them the favor that much more. So I like Houston over SMU.
I'm going to take SMU here just so we don't have 3 underdog people picking, even though I still think I've always had, I mean, even from the death penalty, it's one of my favorite ESPN films, by the way, that SMU.
That 30 for 30 was
30 for 30.
amazing.
Love that. I just love 30 for 30. But I think if there's one fan base that really wants SMU to win, that'd be Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
Because they'll be playing SMU very soon, and they'll want that quality win, and it doesn't matter what us 3 think about SMU. The committee's going to see that as a quality win if and when Cincinnati beats SMU. I mean, it'll be an undefeated matchup, and I mean, I would think that Cincinnati will win that game regardless if SMU wins this one. But give me SMU in a close one. I think it'll be a battle of 2 pretty darn good offenses, and I don't think it'll be pretty high scoring. So I'll take SMU in a close one, of course. If they're favorited, which I think they are, I'm going to call them to not cover, but I think they'll win.
Definitely. We have 9th ranked Iowa on the road at Wisconsin. Iowa.
Oh, will anyone even score on this one?
Iowa is really good. They're very physical. They've always been one of the more physical teams in college football. I really like what they do up front. Wisconsin, though, they're also very physical. I don't think that they've had the talent on the perimeter this season to kind of be able to line up with their physicality and back it up. But when you watch them play, I'm not sure what their record is, but they were a preseason ranked team going into the year. They're not ranked anymore, but they're definitely going to be a difficult team to play, especially on the road. But I'll take Iowa in this one. I think it'll be a tough game, hard-nosed game, pretty gritty. It'll probably be cold out there, you know what I'm saying, because we're entering that time. It's football weather, you know what I mean. This is a classic matchup right here when we talk about hard-nosed, old-school football. And if anyone knows that best, it's Iowa. So I'm going to take Iowa in this one. Closer than people think, though. Closer than people think.
I think both teams on paper are good. I think both teams, as you said, Lorenzo, have been known for their physicality, right?
Yeah.
The Big Ten, I mean, everyone thinks, SEC, people hit the hardest. Big Ten hits just as hard as the SEC, in my opinion. I mean, Big Ten and SEC have always been the most physical conferences. I think this one will be somewhere in the realm of like 14-17 or 13-20 or something like that, or 17-20, like a lot of these like Michigan State, Iowa, Penn State games are.
Yep.
Low scoring because they do have pretty stifling defenses. Wisconsin always has had not always, but in recent memory they've had a great offensive line. I think just both teams have failed to impress me offensively. I think they're both way too one-dimensional, as you said. Not enough talent on the perimeter either. I'll take Iowa in this one. I think Iowa just has. I think they have the most super seniors on any team in the country. I might be wrong on that, but either way, they have a lot of like old, experienced guys.
They love those older guys.
Yeah,
they definitely develop through their program.
They do
pretty well.
They do. I've always liked Iowa, and I've always really liked Wisconsin. Neither of them have really been able to get over the hump. I think Iowa, was in the playoffs a few years back, but I'll take Iowa as, I think, was it Lorenzo that said it'll be closer than most expect? Yeah. Wisconsin's can get loud, especially fourth quarter jump around, right? It'll get loud, but I think Iowa will pull away a close victory, like 20-17 or 20-17 or something like that.
Yeah, you actually just stole my idea. I was gonna say Wisconsin. I think that's gonna be a tough place to go in and try to win for Iowa. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with the underdog. I'm gonna go with Wisconsin.
Hey, I don't mind that at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like Wisconsin, man, just is throughout the years have been known to get real loud in Wisconsin, and I feel like they know that Iowa's gonna come in there. Like you said, it's gonna be physical, but I feel like that's just gonna give them that much more, hope to try and win that game. I haven't really been following up on the two teams throughout the season, but I just gotta go with that underdog. I'm gonna go with Wisconsin.
That's fair.
They did play a really good game against Purdue last week. I watched that whole game just because I was like, well, why not? I mean, Purdue looks pretty good now that they just pulled off that 24-7 win over Iowa. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't close. That wasn't a fluke. That win over Iowa, and Wisconsin handled them. I think it was like 30-13 or something. So, again, I don't like using the transitive property with college football, but Wisconsin they played probably their best game of the season in Iowa, except maybe defensively they played great against Penn State earlier. But so yeah, it'll be a close one. Chicago, I agree, man. And yeah, good pick.
So staying in the Big Ten, it's moving day, if you will, for the Big Ten. These are some big games coming up.
Yeah.
Number 5 Ohio State versus number 20 Penn State. Now, a few weeks ago, we were looking at this game as possibly being a top 10 matchup. And obviously, Penn State stumbling against Iowa, which no one's going to hold against them. Iowa's a pretty difficult team to play. And then losing that heartbreaker, I think it was 9 overtimes against Illinois.
Yeah.
That'll do it right there. That'll definitely drop you, especially against the Illinois team that hasn't really been that good recently. That's a tough loss. So Penn State being 20th here, and unfortunately, I have their misfortune continuing. I think Ohio State is going to win this going away. I think that offense is in a pretty good rhythm. I think C.J. Stroud has kind of figured some things out. He got hurt early in the season and it kind of rattled him a little bit. He definitely was missing on some throws that he probably would usually hit, and he's hitting on them now. Of course, their schedule is softened up a little bit, but you have to beat who's in front of you, and they've not only beaten those teams, but they've demolished those teams. So
that's true.
I definitely believe that Ohio State is going to win this going away. Trevion Henderson, freshman running back for Ohio State, another guy to watch. Maybe not the Heisman Trophy this season, but definitely some point in his career. He's been really good. Coming in, especially with a 5-star running back, it's hard for them to kind of carve out a role, especially on a really good team like in Ohio State, like in Alabama, like a Clemson, those teams like that usually keep their running backs around and usually put really good ones out in the league. So Trevion Henderson coming right in and pretty much being the guy from day one for them has been huge. So all that to say, I think Ohio State wins this one big, very, very large victory for the Buckeyes. Very large victory, I would say.
Y'all just be taking the words out of my mouth. I was just gonna say, I think Ohio State. I think this is gonna be a blowout. Or I don't think I know it's gonna be a blowout. I like Ohio State, like you said. C.J. Stroud. I feel like he has that they're at their peak right now, offensively. Penn State, yes, they tend to play good defense sometimes. I just feel like that Penn State's offense isn't ready to match up with one of the infamously known DBUs, Ohio State. I just feel like they won't be able to put up enough points, and they won't score as consistently as Ohio State will. So I like Ohio State for that game in a blowout.
This is a statement game for Ohio State, right? They
Yes.
they lost that game against Oregon way back in week 2, and then they've been blowing out inferior opponents since then. This is a game where Ohio State needs to jump back, and I think they will just jump back on that scene of we are the elite team in the Big Ten, and it was kind of like, they were kind of painted as, we're just like all the other Big Ten teams now that we have that one loss, and now, everyone's like Penn State has that one loss. Now, either Michigan or Michigan State one of them are gonna have a loss after this week. I think Iowa, listen to me, Ohio State makes a big statement this week. I think they will come out and, like y'all both said, just absolutely destroy Penn State. I think it'll be somewhere like in the 20s to the 40s range, like Penn State somewhere 20 or maybe 17, and Ohio State in the 40s, maybe 50. I don't know. It'll be a big blowout. I think C.J. Stroud's going to have the best game of his career. I think they'll jump back onto the scene of elite college football this week with a huge win over Penn State. So give me Ohio State and cover the spread, whatever it is.
Another Big Ten game, like I said, moving day in the Big Ten, as we can say. A lot of big matchups. Number 6, Michigan at number 8, Michigan State. Now, talking about how a few weeks ago, if you would have talked to me about Ohio State, Penn State, it would have been a top 10 matchup. If you would have talked to me at the beginning of the season about Michigan State, I'd probably be like, man, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, I believe they were both unranked going into that season.
I believe so. Yep.
They definitely had pretty disappointing years last year. Michigan, even though Harbaugh hasn't really been able to get over the hump, they've generally been a team top 15, pushing top 10, New Year's 6.
Oh, yeah.
And then Michigan State being the very proud program that they've been there. They've just been very consistent for so long. They've just gone through a few down seasons. They have a playoff appearance as well, so it definitely isn't just ancient history for them. They've been good. They've been pretty good really not that long ago. So it's good to see these two teams rising up again, going into the top 10. And I'm going to take Michigan State with this game at home. I believe that they will beat Michigan. I think that Kenny Walker is the best running back right now in the country. Definitely playing the best football of any running back that I'm watching right now. I think Michigan State is going to be very good defensively. Michigan offensively, I'm not really sure. I've never really been sure with Michigan. It always kind of seems like the age-old question with them is, can they put up enough points to really be a contender?
Right.
Quarterback play has always kind of been an issue. This year, I know that they play two different guys at certain points. Harbaugh likes to do a lot of weird things with his quarterbacks. So I'm going to take Michigan State in this one. I think Mel Tucker gets his first really big win as the coach of Michigan State. Yeah, UGA guy. I think he gets his first really big win against Michigan. I think this is going to be a statement win for this program and will set up a huge matchup down the line with Ohio State for them.
Me, I'm gonna have to go Michigan. I think Michigan's gonna get it done. I think this is gonna be. I honestly think this will be game of the week. You know, big rivalry. I do feel like Kenny is gonna have a big game. But as always, I feel like Michigan. They've been known to have a good defense, pretty solid.
Yep.
Pretty solid up front. That's going to be the challenge for them, holding up Kenny, who I agree is probably the best. Well, I wouldn't say the best running back in the country right now, because I'll have to give it to that Georgia guy, Zamir White. I think Zeus is. I think Zeus is that guy. But Kenny is definitely up there. He's definitely up there. Like I said, it'll be a challenge for Michigan's front seven. But I will give it to Michigan. I don't know. It's like for you with Florida being that hated team. I never liked Michigan State. It's just when I hear Michigan State, I think more basketball. I don't really care for it. So, but don't get me wrong, they are a pretty good team right now. They're top 10 in the country. I just have Michigan pulling it off on the road in Michigan State.
Again, big matchup. I think game day is going to be there, right? They got to be there.
Yeah,
that's the top 10 matchup. They should be.
They got to be. They're going to show that play from a few years ago at the end of the game where Michigan punter fumbled the snap and one of the craziest endings in college football history. So they're going to be showing that. There's always bad blood there, especially since then. I think they're both such physical teams. If I were betting on this game, I wouldn't bet on this game. It will be really close. I think last time I checked, State was favored by 4, and it is in East Lansing.
Yep.
So I'm going to lean Michigan State for this one. Michigan is a really good team, especially defensively. I still have questions offensively for them, and Jim Harbaugh I don't know. He definitely, I'm not saying he can't win the big game. He just hasn't consistently won the big game yet.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I can't put my trust in him. I will be more than happy to eat crow this weekend and stand corrected if they do pull off the win against the Spartans. But I think Kenny will get a few good runs in. I think they'll win the time of possession battle against Michigan. I think it'll be similar to the Iowa-Wisconsin score. It'll be low scoring. It'll be loud and East Lansing. I think Michigan will probably the spread's 4. This is why I would never bet on it, because it's either going to be by 3 or by 7.
Yeah.
So, but I think they'll win a close one.
And the final game that we have on the docket, number 10, Ole Miss on the road in Jordan-Hare at number 18, Auburn. I am going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to take Auburn in this one. I think Auburn for the upset.
That's a bold pick.
I think Auburn for the upset. I know that everyone has made their allegiances known, so I will go ahead and give full disclosure. I am an Auburn fan.
I am sorry.
It's a rough existence sometimes, but I think we're gonna have fun this weekend. I know Ole Miss offense is very good, and Matt Corral probably is the Heisman favorite right now. But man, it's just something about playing that Jordan-Hare. It's something about those top teams playing that Jordan-Hare. That crowd can get to you. That defense always plays very well at home, unless, of course, unfortunately, they're playing Georgia this season. That defense generally plays very well at home. Bo Nix is the most enigmatic quarterback I think I have ever seen in my life.
Oh, I've got an opinion on him.
He will have one play where he looks like a magician, and he will have one play where he looks like a fool, and that is the Bo Nix experience in a nutshell.
I would agree.
That is what he does. He's a crazy quarterback to watch. I think that Auburn's going to play well defensively. I think they're going to give Ole Miss some trouble. I think that Tank Bigsby for Auburn is going to run the ball really well. I'm not really too sold on Ole Miss defensively. I know they looked pretty good last week against LSU, but like you said, they're kind of reeling from their coach being on the chopping block pretty imminently on his way out the door. So give me Auburn. It's going to be close. I'm thinking something like maybe 31-28. I think that Auburn might get a defensive touchdown in this game. That would be my very bold prediction. They will get a defensive touchdown in this game. So I'm thinking 31-28 Auburn. And Auburn is also going to the SEC championship, in my opinion. But that is a different discussion.
Well, they got to win this one if they're going.
Yeah. That is a different discussion for a different episode. But I had to rep my guys. I had to.
Like I said, man, I'm sorry that you're an Auburn fan. I know. I know that hurts sometimes. Me, I'm gonna go Ole Miss. Yes, I know it is very hard to go to Auburn territory and try to win a game. Like you said, Georgia made it look easy. But here's why I feel like Ole Miss could pull it off. Right now, I feel like offensively, Ole Miss is better than Georgia looked when they had with Stetson Bennett. They having guys out like Kyrus Jackson, George Pickens, Eric Gilbert, a lot of names. I just feel like offensively, they could do it more, efficiently than Georgia did. Now, I'm not saying that Ole Miss defense is anywhere close to Georgia's defense right now, because it's not. It's very shaky. I think it will be a shootout though. I see Ole Miss winning. I say 42-38 in a close game. 42-38. But I think it will be a shootout.
Yeah, I think it'll be a shootout too. I think Ole Miss will shoot way more than Auburn.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and this really, honestly, full disclosure, I do hate Auburn. This pick is, I think Ole Miss will win pretty big. This pick, is because Ole Miss is my surprise underrated team this year. As I said before, Ole Miss is it's I think they're in the top 10 or they are 10 right now.
10.
Mm-hmm. 10.
I mean they are really good, and even I know they're in the top 10, but I don't think most people are giving them credit for how amazing. I mean, I just think they're a little bit underrated. I guess I'll just leave it at that. That game against Tennessee, of course, that was a weird one with the mustard bottle and everything. But I think it was. I guess it's a good picture of how they're going to react to the crowd. They did put up on 31 on a pretty dang bad Tennessee defense. If they play like that, it'll be close. But I love Tank Bigsby, but I do not trust Bo Nix whatsoever. He is enigmatic in all the wrong ways. I think, if he has 3 or 4 of those plays where he runs around for 20 seconds and then closes his eyes and throws the ball up in the air and, hits a touchdown, it'll be closer. But either way, I think Ole Miss, I think their defense is definitely shaky, no doubt. But I think it'll be a shootout. Give me Ole Miss 45-35 over Auburn, actually. So not as big. Now that I'm thinking about it being Jordan Hare, I'll give him 45-35. So,
see, this is great. You know what I'm saying? We have a UGA fan here. We have an Alabama fan. We have an Auburn fan. You know what I'm saying? We can all talk college football. Very much so disagree.
Yes.
Yeah. Very much so disagree. But that's the thing about college football, man. It just brings everybody together. So. This is going to wrap up this episode, first episode of Season 2. Moxon Glosson, Nevarie Solomon, I'm Lorenzo Robinson, and this has been the first episode of Season 2 of RU Sports Speaks.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir.